Hi, and welcome again to the GEF live series here at the GEF Assembly in Vietnam. Thank you for joining us on the Connect for Climate Facebook page. And we've been running a number of discussions around the global commons, where we see action still needs to take place, how we can scale up the implementation of solutions around environmental degradation and environmental solutions, as well as around climate change. So I've got the great honor now to engage in a dialogue with Agnes Kalibata. Thank you so very much for joining us. Agnes is the president of the Alliance for a Green Revolution in Africa. And you've also held the ministerial role in Rwanda for agriculture and animal resources. Thank you so very much for joining our discussion. So maybe just to get us started, could you explain a little bit around the Alliance for a Green Revolution in Africa? What does that mean? What is a green revolution in Africa? And how are you making sure that you bring a network of stakeholders together?
Yeah, so thank you. So let me start with the word alliance, because at the time AGRA was created, it's not that there were not a number of institutions out there already that were doing some of the things that we do, but we recognized that it needed an alliance of partners, but also it needed people that would deliberately reach out to private sector and be able to bring in a private sector and be able to pull private sector into usually a public space to have a discussion around how farmers access technologies. So AGRA looks at how African farmers can access technologies being better seeds that have the capacity to increase their yields, have access to better fertilizers that have the capacity to increase their yields, and really then how farmers access those things. Remembering that at the time that we came in, farmers had to move probably over 50 kilometers to get the next seed variety to be able to improve their yields, and because of that, actually, access to better technologies was extremely limited. So our job was really to say, except the African continent, everybody else has access to good yields and access to yield-improving technologies. How does an institution like, excuse me, we need an institution like AGRA that actually gets to reduce the distance to the farmer. So we came in, one, to ensure that the technologies were available that are locally adapted to that environment, because Africa is such an agroecology, it has such a multiplicity of agroecologies, that to be able to get a variety, say even rice, that works in one agroecology doesn't mean that it will work in another. Yeah. So AGRA was really recognizing the fact that with the multiplicity of agroecologies, an institution of science that had the capability to draw on the science that could help African countries to actually come up with varieties that are locally adapted in their environments, but also create a system within the private sector that takes this service to the farmer. So we work with national research institutions to generate the varieties, but we also work with the private sector to reduce the distance to the farmer. So I can say that today, the distance to the farmer is about 10 kilometers, which is still far, but it's 5 times less than it was 10 years ago. Absolutely. And I'm not saying that it is just AGRA, but the number, again, it's an alliance of partners, the number of partners out there that are busy working together to ensure that the distance to the farmer is reducing, and to ensure that farmers are accessing the right technologies to increase their yields.
And I think that's probably a challenge that not many people are aware that, Africa has a lot of diversity in its ecosystems, and hence different landscapes require different agricultural processes. So I'd also like to pick up on the second part of your name, the Green Revolution. So we are in the midst of facing a lot of environmental challenges. Climate change is impacting the most vulnerable, those who are really reliant on the natural resources, which include farmers, and the question there is what do you mean by the Green Revolution, and how are you working to really enhance the yields of the farmers and of those most affected?
So the Green Revolution recognizes that with good seeds, you could triple, you could quadruple, you could even multiply by 10 the possible yields farmers are getting. So I give you an example. A farmer in Rwanda where I worked for some time, and which is one of the countries AGRA works in, gets on average about 5 tons per hectare of potatoes. A farmer in the Netherlands gets 55 tons of potatoes in the same area of land. So what is the Rwandan farmer doing or what's the Dutch farmer doing that the Rwandan farmer is not doing? So it's recognizing that there are varieties that could actually, and technologies in terms of agricultural practices, but also access to fertilizers and new ways of using fertilizers that pay attention to crop needs, but also pay attention to soil needs. And what is exactly missing that would make a difference for that crop that actually would then result into you multiplying your yields 5 times or multiplying your yields 10 times? And why is this important? This actually fits very well into this whole discussion around land use that we're having today. Because most African farmers right now increase their yields by getting into more land, by cutting more forest, and forest areas because they are most productive, they're extremely productive. So there's a natural propensity to go into these areas that are productive, but also very fragile. So the idea of increasing productivity actually reduces the need to want to do that. And part of the work we are doing, for example, with the GEF in parts of Kenya, is to work with farmers in fragile ecosystems on the edges of forests to actually increase yields so that they don't see the need to attack the forest to get more yields out of forests.
So it's really supporting communities and farmers to enhance the soil health and also use new technologies and ecological processes that really end up enhancing yields of those farmers and thereby drive their economic gain and their interest in staying resident rather than deforesting. Thank you very much. And so I'd like to take the conversation a little bit further into what's happening here at the GEF Assembly. We are in the midst of a transformation where we need to start applying systems approaches. We need transformative change to help solve some of our global challenges. So what is your message for the GEF Assembly? And what do you aim to get out of it over the next 2 days?
Yeah. So for me, what I've come to learn from working in a partnership perspective is, again, there are a number of us that are doing so many different things out there. The GEF Assembly gives us an opportunity to come back and say who is driving what, where, and how do we build a coalition of partners, again, going back to the alliance, which I was talking about. We did an alliance for a green revolution. Can we now do an alliance that doesn't just focus on how we increase productivity, but also focuses on how we save our landscapes, or how we produce at the same time saving our landscapes, because the two are not mutually exclusive, because there's an opportunity to do that. But it's also necessary that we do that because our climates are changing because of the way we are using land. So it's imperative that we actually find new ways of using land that allows us to increase productivity, that allows us to get the benefits we want, and at the same time allows us to incorporate landscapes that are consistent with reducing the impact on climate. And what does that look like? It means planting more trees. It means using less land to produce more. And there's already, like I just said before, there's already enough evidence that we can do that. And it means that we can manage water resources better so that they don't destroy the environment, because we are paying attention on where
address climate change and some of the other pollution problems. So we're on Facebook Live, and I think we've got a question that has actually come in from the audience. So over to you, Selena.
Hi, we have a question coming from the audience from Sergis Fotsotagin, and he would like to know, how can a farmer become a beneficiary of AGRA and the work that you do? How can they access these high-quality seeds to improve their yields? What is the process like for engaging a farmer?
So that's a great question, because that's really what we do as an institution. So I told you that we did recognize that just having those technologies, the seeds, wasn't enough, because if you don't do something about it, they'll sit on the shelf for very long. So one of the things we do is we work with the private sector. Private sector is very good at taking taking things and running with them. So we ensure that these varieties that are available can actually reach farmers through what we call agro-dealerships. Agro-dealerships are small shops, village shops, that actually can sell improved seeds for very little to farmers or make them available to farmers. So there's a service there. You create the opportunity for someone to make money while farmers actually get the benefit of this person that is making money. So through these agro-dealerships, these things are moving down. But also we are partnering with governments. Governments have a huge public good in terms of creating new paths where there is none, creating opportunities where there are none. So we use the public infrastructure also to roll out new varieties where we see the benefit, for example, to impact nutrition, right? For example, iron-fortified beans, in some cases, we've rolled them out through public systems where you want to ensure that the impact is out there faster than if it went through other systems. So there are a number of channels, but I think the bottom line is the relationship between public good, how we get things out there, but also the opportunity where we see that the private sector can make money to actually put that through a private sector system, because they can take it to farmers and much more efficiently.
Absolutely, and you also said you're active across the African region and in most sub-Saharan African countries. So if a farmer does have a question, they can also reach out to you through your website. And
yeah, we are active in a number of countries. We worked with. When we're developing technologies, we're working in 18 countries. Right now, as we work with the governments and look at how we can support governments to build capacities to scale technologies, we're working in 11 countries. All those countries are on our website. And we hope that we can really, but I think more importantly, we are creating a network of partnerships that it won't just be AGRA, that there are so many other partners out there that are seeing the opportunity to reach out to farming communities with better seeds, but also with what we are learning here from a GEF perspective, the fact that improving yields alone is not going to be enough if we don't look at how we build in ecosystem services that can save our environment.
Exactly, and I've picked up on how technology plays a crucial role, that you've got new seed breeds that are also iron fortified, for example, and help society, but also how you manage the fertilizers to integrate the natural capital services. So maybe in closing, if you could also share your message for a younger audience, how they can get involved in this green revolution, in helping roll out climate-friendly and environmentally friendly agriculture solutions.
So I think for me, my message to young people would be like, there's a lot of information out there. There's a lot of knowledge out there. It's extremely important as a young person to get on top of this information. I mean, if you just went to the AGRA website, there's so much you can learn from there, and there are so many other websites as well. I think what won't work is trying to produce the same way our parents or grandparents did. So for example, AGRA funds a number of startups. Right now we are funding an Uber for tractors, so that you can access a tractor the way you access
That's
an Uber, and young people should be able to understand what that means. But we are also funding any other cool innovations out there that are coming from young people. The point I'm trying to make here is, if you have a good idea out there and you're a young person and you feel like your idea can help reach more farmers, it's an opportunity to reach out to AGRA and say, yeah, this is a cool idea. And actually, at the end of the year, towards the end of the year, on 5 to 8 September, we have the African Green Evolution Forum, which is huge. It's a huge forum of about 2,000 people. It takes place every year. This year it's going to be in Kigali, in Rwanda. And you're welcome. We have a huge agri-tech forum that focuses on how young people engage in agriculture. But we also have my chairman of the board, Strive, who's really has a huge following on Facebook. A lot of young people like to follow him. Every year he conducts a huge forum for young people. If you want to be part of that, he's going to be talking to young people in Kigali at the AGRA.
Well, thank you so much for your leadership, and really exciting to see how you're picking up on technology, how you're engaging young people, and congratulations again on all the great work you're doing, and also on the work you've done in Rwanda in the past to really drive environmental leadership. And with that, we're going to be closing our GEF Live series here today. But please join us tomorrow on the Connect for Climate Facebook page, where we'll be broadcasting all day long with the hashtag GEF Live. Thank you so very much. Thank you. That was really exciting.